Parul here, your usual host, life and leadership coach, founder of Boost Your Confidence Academy. And today we have our amazing guest again, Meher Parul Nagar from all the way from India. And we are carrying on with the subject matter of divorcing your parents. And today, divorcing your parents, part 3. Last week we talked about father wounds. Today we're going to be talking about mother wounds. And our expert Meher is a trauma therapist, a trauma survivor. She worked with a lot of people who's been through a lot of trauma in their life and experiencing currently as well. So, without further delay, I'm going to ask Meher. Welcome on board, Meher, and thank you again for your time to come and share your expert knowledge and your experience with our audience.
Hey, hi everyone. Hey, thank you so much. I'm so glad that we are doing this series here again. And before a delay, I'm just gonna say I want to say this particular series is for anyone and anyone who's gone through abuses ever since their childhood. So it can be any form of abuses you went through and you withhold ever since you were a small little kid and you didn't even realize that was an abuse happened to you. So that's what we are gonna unleash more in today's topic and coming topics as well. We did a bit of it the other day on fatherhood, but today it's more on motherhood, and I think I'm so excited that we are gonna do this.
Okay. Meher, until you broke it down, I didn't even know exactly what mother wound contained. So, can you explain for our audience what is mother wounds?
Yes, obviously. I mean, honestly, even I didn't know it until I learned more about my own journey to trauma. And a lot of people don't understand trauma because they don't even know that oh, was it was it really something abusive, or am I assuming it? Because we are made to believe that you have to blindly follow your parents, specifically mothers, because mothers are our first teachers. Whatever we learn from, she is our first source of uh, inspiration, learning, and everything. So we have been told for so many years that you have to just blindly follow what your parents say, what your elders say, mothers say, and specifically, motherly figure. I feel that motherly figure is so close to all of us, despite our culture, our place, anything. It doesn't matter. Mother and a child's relationship is so very closely connected to the umbilical cord, and that is something, even if your mother is good or a bad or whatever it is so difficult to disconnect yourself from that umbilical cord and then see you and everybody, even your mother, as an individual. It is so difficult to do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we're going to go in, but it's one point you just kind of made me understand that father wound, mother wounds is applies to everybody, not just men. Also, sorry, women, but also apply to men. And I've seen a lot of men struggle with mother wounds more than even women. Women talk about, men don't. And men, sometimes you see mothers who become bullying mother, and men struggle to balance between mother and their wife. End of the day, sometimes their personal relationship breaks down because of their mother, because mother can't get understanding that their sons actually with another woman. It is I've seen so many families having that issue as well, and men struggle a lot. So this video series is not just, I know we talk a lot of time about women issues, but it applies to everyone. So please do share, like our video, and you never know who you're helping. So Meher, coming back to you, why you decided to talk about mother wounds?
as I said, it is so closely connected to all of us, each one of us on this earth who's, come, existing, right? Because the first day of our life inside the womb and outside the world starts, through our mothers, like our moms. And it is so well connected. Today we are not we are so today's topic, I just want to say a couple of things, highlighters, is that obviously there is a trigger warning. It is gonna trigger you if you have had mother wound. It's not an comfortable topic. Having said that, I want to say this. It's sensitive, y- it's important, yet it is so critical to know about mother wound, because we see mothers in a certain way. If people have been abused extremely by their mothers, they will say my mother is bad or my mother is worse. If somebody have had a beautiful relationship with their mother, they will say, wow, my mother is the um amazing one or the bestest in the world. So we have these extreme emotions when it comes to mother. If I have to put it very, cut it short in bits and pieces to make it easier for everybody who's listening to us today, right? I think there is this huge gap of, you know, not just expression but experience when it comes to mother. Either your mother is extremely good or either it is bad or something. I feel there should be a balance. I think we should see our mothers as a human being. We should see that she was our source to give birth, but she is not everything. She didn't know everything. I agree. We need to get to a point uh, of understanding and seeing things the way they are. It is so important to see the things the way they are. I have spoken about it couple of in my previous videos. I'm not going to repeat that. To see things the way they are, to know your triggers and all of that, you can watch that video to know more. But today I'm going to focus on things which we haven't spoken and which are still important, right?
Sure, sure.
So right. So I think the first thing is seeing her as an individual. That's a very, very difficult task to do, to see her as an individual first. Not to see her as, your father's wife or maybe your mother or whatsoever is the relationship. Not to see her that way. It doesn't matter what your mother is, who your mother is, where she comes from. Doesn't matter. All that matters for us to first understand mother uh as an individual, as your source of birth, and as your mother.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, Meher,
And yeah,
you talked about extreme emotion towards mother, and is either good or bad. Depends on people experience, which is absolutely, like we do have different and balance. It's important also to have a kind of balance experience, because extreme, yes, you love your mother, so you have extreme emotion. But if you've been, used and abused, then is become distant. But sometimes people struggle with, because they are their mother, therefore they struggle. Doesn't matter what negative, positive experience, fantastic, but positive experience, too much positive experience sometimes lead to mother using or their children for their own advantage. Some mother, I'm not saying all mothers are best, but there are people we've seen, and you mentioned, Meher, is individual people. And sometimes people are, mothers, they have their own personality, comes from poverty, their generational background as well. So these extreme emotions, especially if it's negative, it kills you if you don't deal with it. Yeah, so whether you are a child, man or woman, you have to deal with the emotion if that's negative. So, Meher, obviously you have your expertise, you have your past experience. Tell us all your top tips, whether 5 or 10, whatever top tips you want to give it to our audience. Is if somebody experience negative mother wound, or experience mother wound, negative, I mean negative emotion or mother wounds, what they can do to help themselves, and also the boundaries. Men struggle with boundary setting with their mother. And I've seen very high level professional men, even their mother become their bully because that's how they see their mother, because that's how the mother been treated by their mother. They don't realize that their son is a grown-up professional, working, go wife, kids, but they're treating their son like a baby. And the son struggle then how to deal with it. So tell us your top tips for everyone.
Yeah, so I think before going with top tips, it is important to know what mother wound may look like. So
Yes,
how it comes on also.
yes,
So I
absolutely.
just spoke about individuals. So I'm just gonna go with what it might look like first.
Mhm.
It may come up as, or things like that. I have seen s- uh, one thing, we are on the same page. We are speaking about men, women, everybody here. One thing about motherhood is, it's not just about what we have spoken, that how our mothers treated us, but it's also about how they were made to feel as a child. So
Absolutely,
if they
absolutely.
were made to feel in a certain way, they are gonna treat us not the same way, but in a better version, but still a same, still a same way in few things. So I have heard stories wherein your mother-in-law or your mother or your grandmother, whosoever, it doesn't matter. Now, when it comes to mother, we only think that mother means our mother. It can be your mother-in-law, it can be your grandmother, it can be anybody, any motherly figure. If they were treated ill, if they are a good human being, they will probably treat you way better than how they were treated. But that's not your expectation. Okay, that's not something maybe you want from your life, and you might assume, oh, she's so bad. So I'm not here to beautify anything. I don't do this work to beautify anything here. I am just being very honest and see people, as I said, as that's why I spoke that. Okay, so we need to understand that even they were abused, and that's why this pattern is coming in. One more thing, if my mom, few things which came up, not just how my mother was treated by my father or by her parents or everybody, by her in-laws and everybody. It's also about what she happened to become over the years from whatever happened to her. So if she is someone who has uh not work too much on herself, definitely this is gonna pass on. And that's why we are speaking about generational trauma, how generational to generation trauma passes and the patterns passes. And that's why how important it is to see your patterns and match it with your mom's patterns. So I have also seen women whose father abused, a girl getting abused by the father, or maybe a boy getting abused by mother or father whatsoever. And because we are speaking about motherhood, and your mother isn't taking stand for you, or maybe anybody, not, your father is not taking stand for you, or something happening, an abuse happening from one parent to another, you're getting me? One
Yeah,
parent is abusing and the other one is not doing anything about it. Okay, so it is so important to see that and understand that for a child, it's like you are a parent. It doesn't matter whether you are a mother, you are a father. All that matters to them, that what happened during that abuse. And if your mother or anybody, didn't take a stand, it is gonna be there. Specifically for women, for girls who get abused by their own father, brother, cousin brother, relatives, and your mother didn't do anything about it. She got to know, but she said, keep your mouth shut, don't say anything,
absolutely.
right? That's so disheartening. That's extremely disheartening. And the reason I spoke about father here, because the same feeling a man can have for father, your father not standing up for you when you are getting abused by your relative, because there are a lot of men who get abused by their relatives physically,
Absolutely.
right?
Hmm.
So it's so important to understand that you know, as a child, it was painful, and it is gonna be painful forever until we step out and heal ourselves. Now, there are a lot of people who have amazing parents, to be honest. They didn't have any problem. They were very cool, chilled out, and all of that. But here comes the trick. When we haven't been taught about what is mental health for so many years. So anything happened to us, we didn't come up home and say everything, because there were few things we could say and there were a lot of things we couldn't say, right? We filtered out. So when we have been filtering out a lot of things over the years, even though we share a good relationship with our mother or father for that matter, because we are speaking about both the genders, so still a lot of men share a good relationship with mother, and a lot of women share a good relationship with their father. That's also one thing, right? So point here, we have been filtering out, and when you filter out things, we don't realize, we feel it's important, it's okay. I don't have to say that to them, it's not needed. The reason we haven't been speaking about a lot of things, because we don't share a healthy relationship. And 90%, I am sure 90% of the population, 90 to 85 to 90% of the population don't share a healthy relationship with their parents. They can't speak anything and everything with their parents. So whenever a client comes into me and I ask them, how's the relationship with your parents? And they say it's good. I say, do you speak about sex? Do you speak about this to your parent, to your mom, if you're close to your mom? No, who speaks about it? I said, why can't you speak about it? Right? You're getting my point, right? If we cannot speak about anything and everything with our parents, that means we don't share a healthy relationship with our parents. There is a gap. And we need to understand that gap might look healthy, but it's not healthy, right?
Yeah,
And because it's not healthy and we keep on, putting ourselves, resisting our emotion, it goes on to suppressed emotions. A lot of suppressed emotions, specifically for men. I've seen a lot of male clients who have extreme suppressed, they have suppressed their emotions, feelings, everything, because they are male. They are, they need to be very strong and powerful. That's what we have been taught. We have
absolutely.
been
And
trying to.
yeah, you just reminded me talking about men. Yesterday, I was looking through some news on some of the social media, and this organization who work with suicide prevention. One of the research in the 75% of suicide in the UK, I think that's the figure, was by men, and most of the men were under 45. And one of the biggest thing is we talk about men emotion, men don't talk about. They keep it inside, then they lash out. And that's where we saw also lots of domestic violence happen because they keep their own inside. Whatever happened in their personal family, friend, or being abused or stress at work. And I want to say to all men, do talk about your family. There are loved one, whether they are your friend, your family member, your wife, your kid, eldest elder children. Do talk about it. Don't suppress your emotion, because suppressing emotion backfire on you and you become the baddie, within the family, because you bring your emotion through anger and frustration instead of talking about it. So great point, man. Suppression doesn't
And
work. Suppression, whether man or woman, anyone, keeping inside. And I think men being brought up that way, I feel like you can't cry, you are strong, and if you cry, they say, oh, you're crying like a girl. Crying release emotion, make your head clear. There is no shame of crying, whether you're a man or woman. Okay, over to you,
also,
Meher.
I just wanted to bring out few more important points. So
Hmm.
we have this perception of the reason, even if today I'm not going to give you tips, or even if this goes long, but this is very important to understand. I have seen a lot of clients coming in. They literally are perfect kids. They earn good. They are in a good place. They are in a good status. This is so unfortunate. I'm sorry this is gonna dishearten somebody, but it is, because we have been told that only if you are at a good position, you have good roles, only then you are successful. You are an amazing child, you are an obedient child, you have pleased your parents. No, I'm in this empire. So these are also signs that you have motherhood. It's so important to see as I said, it's about, we are talking about different individuals here. You as a child, your mother, your father, your sibling, and everything. So being a perfect and obedient child, being a child who just want to please their parents, being a child who just wants to go against their parents. People don't realize. People used to tell me, you are a very rebellious child. No, I'm not a rebellious child. I have my own thought process. I would have been rebellious. I don't deny, because when you don't heal your traumas and you have been constantly living in these trauma bonded relationship wherein you have amazing relationship at some point in time, and then you also have extreme chaos in your house, you know. And that is what we need to also understand, these trauma bonding relationship, which is a again a huge topic. I don't want to get too much into it, but just a heads up that, you know, initially it will be like, when it is amazing, it is like amazing, amazing, truly amazing, and when it is messed up, it is truly, you know, this chaotic, and you can't handle them, you can't handle your parents, you are like, what the hell is wrong with them, what are they doing, what do they expect from me, and things like that. I think these are few signs by which you can see yourself that you have motherhood or fatherhood, and
Absolutely.
specifically motherhood, because as women we actually repeat all the patterns we have learned from our mom, from how she handled and things like that, specifically as women. And for men, it's like, they when they see this abusive thing happening to them, or maybe from, yeah, their father or anybody doing to their mother and all of that, then for them it's like, they either they are again into a completely different two different zones. One is extremely submissive, or the other one extremely destructive. Why men get into extreme crimes? Because of that. So we need to really see through things and understand why all of this happening. Destruction can be with, not just outside but within yourself. Substance issues, alcoholism, doing extreme sex, having sexual concerns, anything. Destruction can be of any type to for both the genders. It
Yeah.
despite
Yeah,
what
2 points, Meher, you said is one is yes, distraction. But I want to say to all, both men and women, those who experience trauma, you don't have to treat your children, your loved ones, same way as you experienced. Whether your mother-in-law, your mother, or your father abused you, or abuse doesn't mean physical abuse, but verbal, emotional, does not mean you have to be the same. You could be completely opposite. And we have seen people who come out from very traumatized families, very bad bad background, become the best version, and they give best life to their family themselves. They look after themselves. So you don't have to take the negativity. You can be best version of yourself. And that goes to both generation, and also the children. Is important for parents, if mother or father experiencing challenges, the children understand, because children pick up things quickly. So if mother experiencing challenges from the father, it's important to explain to children why it's happening. It's not their fault. And you standing up for yourself. Sometimes children say, oh, you guys fight, but explain them why you fight. Because if women raise their voice, then you seeing as a, if women doesn't raise their voice and take everything from their husband, then children see as, oh, is acceptable. So your children could become somebody like their, either acceptee or become violent like their father. Or if they see you speaking out, they say, oh, you guys fight. But it's really important for your children to see that you standing up for your rights. So they can stand up for their right and they don't get used and abused. So it's so important. So Meher, over to you. You're going to give some tips, but before that, you kind of carried on talking about the feelings and the emotions and behavior. Really, I think we start talking about behavior. Do you want to add on anything about any more about behavior?
Yes, I think few more things. I just want to couple of things, not too much. I want to highlight this so much. You know, you're seeing this is an intensive topic, but we are still trying to put it as much as we can because we have limited time. But here, it's not just about, what we showcase as our, response or behavior. It's also about how we process it. So if we have been processing in a different way, for example, people processing their trauma in with the replacement of being perfect child, earning superbly well, doing good in life, and people assume, wow, they're so successful, they must be amazing. But people don't know, no, they are completely, honestly screwed up. They are completely screwed up. I have had clients, people hearing their stories. They became successful just because they wanted to replace their trauma with success, just to, satisfy themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, all of these behaviors, to pretend too much to be good, to pretend too much to be something, anything good or bad, itself means that it's a trauma response. One more thing I always tell to my clients is that, any kind of extreme emotion, whether it is, we think only extreme emotions which are bad for us. For example, anger, revenge, blah, blah, blah. But I say, you know what? Extreme love, protection, care, kindness is also as harmful as any other emotion.
Yes. So Meher, success. You talked about success and destruction, and we've seen lots of men and women become successful because either distraction or because they want to fulfill their parents' dream, but they hate the profession because it's not their chosen profession, and their mental health goes top of the roof. Something that we've seen in lots of, especially Asian community, we're talking about from our experience is they don't talk about mental health, which is so important. Yeah, you want best of your child, but don't go into so extreme that your child doesn't have a space to look after their mind, which is so important. If you want your child to success, let them be child as well. What do you mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As I was saying that having any kind of extreme emotions isn't good for us. Whether it is extreme love, care, protection you were being given by your mother as a source of to protect you as a child, as a child, or whether it is extreme anger or whatsoever. Any extreme emotions always leads to destruction, is we know, but here I'm not talking about that. All I mean is that is also one of the signs that you have mother and father wound. So if you have any kind of these extreme emotions towards anything, which means you are really dealing with trauma issues ever
And
since
if
your
they're
childhood.
dealing with it, Meher, what they can do to come out of it, so they don't reflect the extreme emotion to their loved one if they're
I
going
think,
into new relationship, something like that.
yeah, I think first thing, as I spoke, being aware, which we all know, but
Mm.
apart from being aware and doing grounding and all of that, which I've spoken before, uh, I think it's more about seeing things the way they are. And the next thing is we have this one thing, Parul, in our society, forgive people. We just forgive people randomly. We just want to forgive everyone because we think that forgiveness is the key to everything. So one of the major tips I want to start on with for today is that, see, it's not important to forgive everyone if you're not ready for it. Don't burden yourself just to forgive, others. I think it is so important to forgive ourselves first for a lot of things we did and we feel guilty. And I have seen my clients regretting about a lot of things, having that remorse and grief and guilt within them. It is so important to forgive yourself first. It's not important to forgive others, right? And forgiving yourself isn't just about, okay, I forgive myself. Okay, I love myself. I see a lot of people who are very vague in, doing things. So, second thing I would want to say here, we have, in the name of self care, people say, oh, love yourself. We don't even know what is loving ourselves means. Do we really know what loving means? Loving yourself, not just by show, it should be radical love. It should be radical care. It should be radical, it should be radical. It should not be just a vague love, care, or emotion you are giving to yourself. So I think the second thing, if you really want to do something for yourself, is do radically. Mean it, be it. Go slowly. Nobody's saying that you have to climb the um Everest or mountain or Himalaya or something in a day. Nobody's saying you to that do that, right? All you need to do is whatever you are doing for yourself, not just be mindful, but it should be more like being and living your true self and authentic self,
Absolutely.
right?
That's like what I was
Right?
looking for. Yes.
Yes,
Being
it should
authentic
not
self.
be,
Yes.
yeah, it should not be just at an upper level. Okay, okay, I love myself, I love myself. I find it so funny. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing this? But for me, it's like, even if you are in your worst time you are in, whatever space you are in, I don't know. But it's so important to sit down and genuinely, authentically see yourself, love yourself, be kind and forgive yourself. All those emotions, it should be like really coming in and going through your body inside out,
Yeah,
right? Only
absolutely.
then we can stop these patterns you spoke about, not to give to our children, at least at that point in time, or all
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
And I think the next thing I would want to say is, a lot of people speak about being authentic and all of that. But now, do we actually know what is being authentic means? That's my third thing, is that, do we really know what does it actually mean? Because being a trauma survivor, and we have been abused by our maybe father, mother, directly, indirectly, whatsoever, whatever you have been through. I have no idea. But still, there's just so much confusion about knowing what being authentic means. Now, a lot of people have taken for granted and they say, oh, I am what I am. You want to take me or leave me. But you as an individual, do you actually have figured it out? What do you want for yourself? Have you worked on your healing? How much have you worked on your healing? How much have you worked on your traumas? So it's not just about, I would not say, okay, because I'm a trauma expert, go to a therapist or come to me, I will heal you. Yes, I will say that. But that's not what it is all about. It's all about being your true self. So, I'll give you an example. Being my true self after my healing is like, I will be, I want to safeguard my child, my the inner child of mine, who's very joyful, doesn't care who does what, only wants to live whatever she has got in on her plate with gratefulness, with happiness and all of that. Like, I'm a very joyful and cheerful child, and I still, I'm that, because that's what I figured out, being my authentic self. You get my point? So my
Absolutely.
authentic self is that. My authentic self isn't, oh, I need to be very extremely professional, and I shouldn't smile, and I shouldn't laugh, and I shouldn't giggle. No, that's not me at all. I cannot be that,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely, man. You are who you are, and you don't have
Yes,
to pretend to be somebody else.
exactly. So this is something I'm gonna give to my audience as a third thing, that what do you know or think or see being authentic self? Because we don't even know what does it mean, how does it look like, what should we do to get there, right?
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
a lot of steps to it. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing you mentioned, Meher, I'm going to say a few things. One thing you mentioned, Meher, is when you do self-care, be there. And I teach something like using five sense. When you were in school, you were taught to sense with your, tasty, heary, see it. And when I teach, when I teach about confidence, I always say when you visualize, use your five sense. Same way, when you do self-care, do it radically, as Meher said. Feel it, sense it, go there fully in your mind, body, spirit. Because when you're fully engaged, that's the time you feel you taking care of yourself, not to show somebody else, but feel it. Yeah. One more thing I want to bring into front of our audience is, and since we're talking about mother wounds, and I'm going to repeat this because I've seen this practicing in a lot of community. We're not just talking about Asian community, but a lot of community, even Western society. What we've seen is, again, being a mother-in-law. If your son get married or have a partner, the jealousy, a lot of mother though, not just like, there are great mothers who really love their daughter-in-law like their own daughter, which is fantastic. And I've seen now new generation who becoming mother-in-law, they have more bonds with their daughter-in-law than past generation. But there are fast, I mean, I've seen my own grandmother who were fantastic with my mother and their daughter-in-law. I never seen an elder generation like my grandmother treating my mom like more than their daughter, like a princess. But I've also seen my generation and how women been treated uh, by mother-in-law, extreme. Whether they've been treated that way by their in-laws, but you don't have to be extreme. Your son getting married or living with somebody does not mean they forgotten you. You're going to be still their mother. But sometimes men struggle to balance that. And that's why they have the relationship issue with their partner, because they can't balance relation with their mom, because mother has such a high expectation. They feel they are being left out because their son go married or go partner. And the son struggles saying, oh, I have to keep my mom happy. But sometimes they forget or they struggle, they're leaving their wife or their partner unhappy because they're focusing too much. So it's really important for men to balance that. Second thing is nothing has to be extreme. It's three-way. First, you take care of yourself, your emotion, make sure you deal with it. Second is, if you have a family, try to have a balanced life, because balancing is so important. When both sides see you balancing, you don't get accused saying, oh, you're doing this or you're doing that. Yeah, so balancing is so important. So Meher, you gave some tips. So do you have a last few points to tell our audience?
Yes, I think one thing I would want to say is to be I say to all my clients is to not burden yourself, to be kind and compassionate, but also go slow with yourself, especially when it comes to mother and fatherhood, because these are very sensitive things, specifically mother wound, because mother wound is connected with so many emotions, and it can be extremely complicated, honestly, chaotic and confusing for anybody who's going through that, who's been there. And it might look very easy for someone to sit down and advise, but it will be very difficult. It's very difficult to hold on there and be there and live it, So that's why the tips I have given you, the reason I gave you that, because I have been there, and I see a lot of my clients being there. So I see that struggle within them. I feel that, and I know how it feels like. So that's what I would want to say. Just be very, very, slow with yourself, and very kind and compassionate be with yourself, and don't overburden yourself. Even the world demands it. It doesn't matter who demands what from you. All that matters what is that you can do for yourself at this point in time. Even if you can do two, a simple example I always give, if there are 10 tasks, I can only perform probably 9 tasks. I'm only going to do 9. I'm not going to do the 11th one or 10th one for that matter. So I have come to a place now, I don't burden myself. Even if the world is like, you don't have this, you don't do this, blah, 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 I'm like, okay, forget it. If something has to happen, it will happen, or else I'm not going to punish myself, because we don't realize it, but even while overburdening ourselves, we really, really, it's like not just self-destruction, but it's kind of a punishment.
Absolutely. Living with frustration doesn't work. Whatever it is, it's really important to take care of yourself. Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Well, Meher, thank you very much for all your tips, sharing your experience and your expertise as an expert. Now, if people want to connect with you, how people can get hold of you?
I think genuine conversations here is my ID on Instagram. That is the bestest and easiest way to uh, DM me, and I'll respond to you. Else, I have a website as well. Probably you can go there, see my webinar. I have a webinar which speaks thoroughly about how parental childhood trauma and all of this looks like. So you can see that too and book a consultation.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Meher, for your time. To our audience, we will coming back next week, another episode. And Meher, what are we talking about next week?
Hey, next week is our last part of the series. I think last or second last. No, second last, because it will be more about family wounds. So next week it will be about family wounds. The reason we are speaking about only on that, because it will include your sibling, your relationship with your siblings, and close cousins and relatives. We generally don't speak about it more often, because we think only parents are our main caregivers and all of that. But I have not just I'm seeing I am also seeing in my clients that they don't share a very good relationship with sibling, and they have had this trauma bonded relationship with their sibling, which we are going to speak about next week.
Okay, so everyone, please do like, share our video, and when you like, and you get a lot when you do next one. So stay tuned. You never know, by sharing it, you could be helping somebody. So until next week, bye for now. Stay tuned, and next week we'll be talking about family rules. So take care, everyone. Bye for now.